Hey everyone, so recently I utilized a 9-foot U-Haul van to move, and in this video I'll be going over the entire process starting with the booking all the way to returning the vehicle. I'll also be doing an overview of the actual van that I drove, so stay tuned for a video on that. But let's start out the process with the very beginning, which is reserving your U-Haul. So I'm here on the website and I picked the date and the city that I want to be doing this move, and for their in-house rates or in-city moves where your starting and return point are the same, the starting price to rent their smaller vehicles is just $19.95, so that's pretty great. For my case, I was just trying to rent a 9-foot van versus one of those box trucks, so it's just a little bit easier to drive. And it can hold a decent amount of stuff. I mean, just take a look at their inside dimensions as well as their door opening sizes, and it's able to hold a queen size mattress. So this is pretty good if you have, roughly a studio or a 1-bedroom size with not too many big furniture. So the next screen you see are basically the pickup locations options. Now you really want to pay attention to things like the hours. You want to select your duration, see if they're available during those hours and even available during that day. Some locations, they don't allow pickup for a certain day, or for this particular second option, they don't even have the van that I want, but they at least are still charging me that lower $19.95 rate. So when deciding between locations, definitely pay attention to their store hours. From my experience, it's best to pick it up during their store hours. It's okay if you need to drop it off outside of their store hours, and then make sure that they have the actual vehicle that you're looking for and in the duration and time that you need it for. So once you've picked your location, they're going to start asking you if you want to add on all these fees. So one of them is a collision damage waiver, which is basically car insurance specifically for the van, so you don't have to use your own personal car insurance if you were to get into an accident. But if you have a credit card, for example, I have the Built MasterCard, and this particular credit card actually even has this feature already built in. As long as I pay for the transaction with that credit card, then I can go ahead and waive this fee. So for those of you who are on the fence whether or not you want to pay this fee, just consider it's just a risk assessment. So if you think that you are not very comfortable in driving a larger vehicle like this, you don't want to risk raising the premiums on your current car insurance, then just go ahead and pay that fee. If you want to risk it, or you have a credit card like I do that can, waive this, or you're not concerned about your premiums going up for your car insurance, then go ahead and waive it. Now this next pop-up is trying to get you to buy additional car insurance. If you're just doing an in-house, in-town move, I don't think this is really necessary, but it's a very attractive $5 per rental. So up to you if you want to add that or not. And then they give you all these options if you want to rent certain dollies from them. If not, then make sure that you click the no thanks link that's kind of tucked away at the top or the bottom of the screens. And then the next few screens, they're just trying to sell you their products and services. This one, they're trying to sell you a storage unit. If you don't need it, just hit no thanks. And then there's some packaging supplies, boxes, tape, that kind of thing. If you want to buy it straight from them, there are definitely cheaper options elsewhere, so I would probably forego these options. And then next, if you want to hire some muscle from U-Haul, again, I personally would recommend just shopping around for this versus going straight from U-Haul. You can probably get better rates or better deals from elsewhere. So I went ahead and skipped that. So finally, I get to the review confirmation page, and you can see I have my 9-foot cargo van, which is at a base rate of $19.95. They do charge you this additional $1 environmental fee, which is kind of stupid, but it's there. You can also see the per mile charge. In this case, it's 89 cents, but that varies per vehicle type, city, and also will change over time. You can see my scheduled time, my scheduled duration, when my expected drop-off time and location will be, and then whether or not I selected the damage collision waiver, any dollies or other equipment that I may have purchased. You can see I didn't. So I can go ahead and either save this quote or, of course, check out. In my case, I really was going to move, so I went ahead and checked out. And at the time of this video, they accept credit card, debit card, so you just have to input your information there. And then there's nothing due at the time of checkout. You pay it when you actually pick up the vehicle. Now, the next step I would highly recommend, especially if you're doing an in-town move and you can actually physically go out to the rental pickup location and check out the process, check out the location of the actual car. So for my particular pickup location, I actually had to pick up the keys at the store, and then I had to go drive out a little bit to go actually get the van. So sometimes the location of the keys in the actual vans are not going to be the same place. So it's helpful if you do this beforehand, before you move, without the stress, to really understand the process. The next thing I would recommend you do is download the U-Haul app. So this way you can see your reservation. You can also pre-fill out a couple things that you have to enter before your reservation time. So all of that can be taken care of during the app. And also, if you do end up having to either pick up or drop off your vehicle outside of the store hours, then you can also use the mobile app to do that process. So go ahead and download their U-Haul app. It's available on iOS and Android. In the confirmation email that you should have received, you will also notice that they ask you to bring a couple other different things or have contacts available to verify your identity. And you want to have these ready prior to your pickup. Though in my actual pickup experience, they didn't check any of this, but of course locations can vary, so you're better to be prepared. Okay, so now I'm going to walk you through my personal pickup process. So at my pickup time and location, I was at that store to pick up my keys, and then I was also trying to check in the mobile app. So the things they asked me to do was, for example, share my location, also to take a picture of my face, take a picture of my driver's license front and back. Though I was having a lot of trouble getting them to accept my driver's license, to the point that the person who was checking me in was just like, "Don't worry about it, I'll check you in anyways," and I pretty much didn't really have to do the whole mobile check-in process. So I can imagine that it would be pretty frustrating if you had to do this outside of store hours, which is why I highly recommend that if possible that you pick a location where you can pick up the vehicle in store with a human being versus dealing with their mobile app. Once I got the keys, I drove over to the location where the van was parked, and then I went ahead and unlocked the door, got in the vehicle. Because it was kind of parked in a difficult location for me to look at it at all angles, I had to pull it out first, and then I did the inspection before I headed out. They sent me a text message, so I just clicked on that link, and then they basically walked me through, verify if the pictures in the website matches the condition of the vehicle. So make sure you do your thorough job so that you're not liable for any previous damages that somebody else may have done. And don't worry, your rental time clock actually starts after you confirmed all the photos, so definitely take your time. So here listed on the screen are things I would recommend that you check. Obviously, exterior wise, any notable damages, dents, scratches, you name it. And then you want to make sure that the air in the tires is all filled right. Check if all your lights work, your blinkers, your brake lights, make sure your windshield wipers work. And then ideally it should have a backup rear camera. In this particular GMC model, it's actually in the mirror, so just look for that if it works or not. Check if the AC works. And one of the things you have to check during the mobile inspection is, of course, your odometer and also your fuel level. So I would just take a beginning picture of that. And then once you are good to go with your van, you have no issues, no reason for you to go back and ask for a different one, then go ahead and make the regular driver adjustments. So adjust your mirrors, adjust your seat. Unfortunately, this particular one that I was in didn't allow me to adjust the height of the seat, but as long as you're taller than 4'10", which is I think the legal driving height without a disability, then you should be fine. So with your initial inspection ready to go, your time for the rental clock now ticks. So go ahead and load up the van. So you want to load the innermost part up first to utilize most of the space. That way you can pack it in as much as possible, and you can take advantage of the rear loading doors as well as the side loading door. Don't forget to take advantage of the pretty good amount of space in the front driver's area. If you're curious about an in-depth look at this 9-foot van, I'll be making a separate video on this particular van that I rented, so definitely subscribe for that. But anyways, the idea here is after you finish loading, you unload at your new place, then you want to start the drop-off process. So depending on how much you drove, you may or may not actually have to fuel up. I just looked at the needle location before and after. And then you want to follow the instructions that they text you or they email you to do the mobile check off process if you're dropping off after the store hours. So for my case, I was doing this mobile check off and it was just as bad as the mobile check in. It just wasn't able to figure out my location to verify that I had returned the truck back to the original spot. So it was a whole mess. What I ended up doing was there was an option for me to bypass that. So I just made sure that I documented my drop off. I took pictures of the van. I screenshotted the time that I tried to do this return so I could prove that I returned the vehicle on time. And then I made sure that I parked and locked the vehicle in the designated location. Make sure that you do lock every single door. And then I tried to find the return key lockbox. Key back in to drop off the key. And then the very next day, I got a email with the invoice and it broke down what I ended up having to pay for on my card. And that's when I discovered that I ended up getting charged that CDW, that collision damage waiver, even though I had explicitly declined it. So it was a pretty long and frustrating process of trying to get somebody who could refund me. They had to escalate it to a manager, and they ended up only refunding me the fee and not the taxes that I paid on top of the fee as well. So lessons learned and wisdom I can pass on to you all is the mobile process currently sucks. So definitely try to make sure you can check in with a real person if possible. Try to document everything from start to finish, take a lot of pictures, and then if you want to get a hold of the customer service, the best way isn't email, it's chat or phone call. But anyways, I hope this video was helpful. This is a start to finish of what you can expect when you rent a U-Haul van from them. So please give it a like if you found it helpful and subscribe for my next videos. Thanks for watching.